All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us for a couple minutes. We had some technical issues. So welcome to the regular meeting of the Public Safety Commission for the City of Desert Hot Springs for Monday, November 15th. We are going to start with a call to order, and we're ready for the roll call, please.
Commissioner Eastman?
Here.
Commissioner Lozano will be absent. Vice Chair Mitchell?
Here.
And Chairman Meyer.
Here.
Thank you.
And hopefully next month we'll have our 5th member replacement for Commissioner Levy, so looks like that's going to be going through. So that'll be a good thing. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I asked for permission, and I got it. And Barbara, you don't grace us very often, so would you do the honor and lead us in the pledge, please? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Barbara. I get so tired of calling on Lee and Ken and everybody. It's nice to have somebody new to talk to. So, all right, let's move on to approval of the agenda. It's pretty basic. We just have the one item that we put on there from the last month's meeting along with the regular reports. So I need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as it stands.
I second it.
Okay. We gonna vote online, Gerald, or? Okay. Did you hit your second button there, Lee? If you got one, no? Oh wait, Ken, you gotta hit move. There you go.
Do I have it?
And then it should pop up. Do you have a second thing?
Here.
It should be right here. It should say second right there.
Oh,
There you go.
yeah.
All right, please vote. There we go. Okay.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. All right, so we move on from that. Go to the minutes. Take a second. You guys can look at those. Okay. So need a motion to approve. There we go.
I'll second.
All right. Okay. All right.
Motion
minutes from
passes
last-
unanimously.
Thank you, Gerald. All righty. So let's move on to public comments. Do we have anyone for public comments tonight?
No, we do not.
We don't?
Unless there's
No?
anybody in the audience.
Okay, then we're going to skip it. I'm not going to read the whole thing unless I got some people who want to talk. So, all right, let's move on to new business item number 1. It's an update on the fire contract, and we have Chief Beverlin here. Is it Beverlin or Beverly?
It's Beverlin.
Beverlin. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Mike Beverlin, Division Chief with Riverside County Fire Department, CAL FIRE. The item, new business item, is the update on the new fire contract, and basically what transpired. The bargaining unit for the firefighters union and Cal HR met and came to an agreement for a 1-year extension. That extension is going to go till June 30th of 2022. I believe that they're already at the bargaining table to try to hammer out a long-term extension. The gist of the current contract is firefighters received a 2.5 retroactive raise to July 1st, 2021, and then they'll also receive a 2.62% raise January 1st, 2022. It's the end of the update on the fire contract. I am available for any questions you might have.
Okay, Chief, what we're actually looking for is back in January, we the commission made it our mission this year to figure out what we're going to do with you guys. Are we going to just let you sit where you're at, or are we going to try to find a way to get you some help? And so we assigned Council Commissioner Mitchell and Commissioner Lozano See, I was going to say Councilman Mitchell. Yeah, right. And to a team, and they've been meeting with, they'd met with staff from your place for several meetings. And then we got back over here to the city, and the rest of us don't know what's going on because of the Brown Act, obviously. So we were told that city and fire were right there at the point where you guys had an agreement made for increasing service. So without screwing up negotiations with city staff, obviously, we don't want to get involved in that. That's not our purveyance. But we're just wondering, where are we in that process of finding out if we're going to add more service? We had been told there were some proposals made. We were looking at another medic unit maybe, and just because 80–90% of our calls are medical. And so we're wondering, where are we at with that?
Yeah, I think I could talk about that a little bit. So
Thank you.
over the last, I think probably we started in, this actually started early on last year, and city officials and the fire department officials and some other folks, private contractors, got together and tried to figure out how we're going to handle the situation. And basically, the city council approved, I don't remember which council meeting that was, but it was probably in the middle, right before the break, some funding to increase staffing. And in fact, there's going to be some meetings later on in the week to kind of shore up some of the plans that we're talking about. But the funding that the city council approved was to increase staffing levels at Station 37 with the idea of moving forward to increase some apparatus there, but that hasn't been hammered out 100% yet.
Okay, so we've actually agreed there's money, and we've put together that there's going to be probably like, I mean, I'm anticipating it's probably going to be like 2 to 5 bodies, obviously, for full-time coverage. 5 bodies is usually what it takes. So we're talking like a 2-man medic unit is what we're working on.
So the initial change that was approved from the city council doesn't change the number of bodies per se. It changes the staffing dynamic. So what that looks like is in a municipal setting like Desert Hot Springs is, normally you would have a fire captain, a fire apparatus engineer, and a firefighter paramedic on the engine. And in CAL FIRE, from the wildland days, they had a staffing model known as traditional staffing, which is 1 company officer and 2 firefighters. So more work gets done on the side of a hill in a wildland fire. Well, that doesn't necessarily work for the municipal setting that we're in. So the first part of this transition is to go from what Desert Hot Springs currently has, which is traditional staffing, which is a company officer and 2 firefighters, one of them being a paramedic. And then when we make this transition, it's going to transition to the municipal staffing model, which is a captain, an engineer, and a firefighter, one of those being a paramedic. That's step 1 of the evolution of the Desert Hot Springs Fire Department, and that was approved by the City Council right before summer break. So indeed, that is being discussed, but those details have not been completed yet.
But they,
Yes, sir.
I,
I'm pretty confident that I could have a more comprehensive report for you at the next meeting, but that's basically where we're at this point.
So that at this point, would it be appropriate to make a motion to agendize further discussion on the fire issue at the next meeting?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been sitting here for 5-6 months now thinking we had a deal hammered out. You know, that's the reports we were getting back. And, you know, the work that Ken and Donna had done was not, I get it. You got to change things, but changing those things doesn't get us increased service. It doesn't create less of a strain on engine 37. I mean, every time we have a meeting, we talk about this, all we hear is, we're running engine 37 into the ground, we're running our people into the ground. So our commission took it on at this time to say, look, what can we do to stop running the engine in the ground, stop running the people in the ground, and actually get a better series of service. I mean, not to knock on the fire guys, but I went by a burning truck the other day. It was burning for the 5 minutes I was driving up from I-10, and it was still burning after the 5 minutes I went through the traffic, and it was still burning 3 minutes after I got up to Two Bunch Palms before the fire truck went by me. And that was 37. It wasn't 56 or 36. The goal is to get more service for the city, for the people who live here. 90% of our calls are medic calls. This isn't rocket science. I mean, we've been talking about it off and on for 6 years. So I get you got to make the manpower designation change, but you guys got to help us out here. You know, we need a medic unit. Okay, we don't need a 37-foot, well, we may need a 37-foot fire truck later on. But I mean, this is something that we should have been hammered out. It should be hammered out by now. We should know what the hell we're doing. I mean, you know, it's kind of hard for us as a commission to talk to our council people and say, hey, you got to bust loose another 600 or 700K for the fire contract so we can get another medic unit. When you know, everyone complains about the lack of service, but here we are. We've been pushing it for 10 months, and I've got a name change. I'm going from 2 wildland to a paramedic and another firefighter. And it shouldn't take us 10 months to get to that point. We need to, I mean, I'd like to get, you know, Ken and Donna to get back into the meetings with you guys, set up something. And, you know, because Ken's our fire expert. He's a fire guy. I'm not a fire guy. Never have been, never will be. So, but I think maybe we need to reinstate that and get that going back up, because it seems like something's falling through the cracks, because we want to help. We want to get more service for the citizens. We want to give a break to 37. Okay. Trust me, I was running calls with 37 30 plus years ago. And it was the same way 30 years ago. Okay, it's time to change. It's time to bump it up. It's time to put a medic unit. I've worked in Rancho Mirage and Palm Desert. They all have medic units. Okay, they're all CAL FIRE. They're all CAL FIRE medic units. Some of the Indian Wells has one. Indio has one. You know, why the hell can't we get one? All right, you know, apparently the city has identified some funding. We're told there's funding there, and you know, so let's get this project done. So why don't we agendize it for next month, Ken, and see if you and Donna can get another meeting with the chief and see if we can hammer out where we.
Oh, absolutely. I know. Well,
But see, I think we have new
yeah.
staff, right?
Go ahead. What hinders me and what confuses me a little bit is the disclosure of information with relation to the Brown Act. You know, how much can we divulge? How much can we receive?
Well, you can talk to anybody but
Yeah.
myself and Lee. You and Donna can talk to anyone you want to. You just can't talk to Lee and I and whoever our new team member is, but come
Sure.
next month. But yeah, whoever you two want to talk to, have at it. I mean, but
I definitely would like to sit down with the chief or
Yeah.
his designee, I would guess you would say it that way.
Designee, yeah.
Designee, yes. We realize you're busy. In preceding meetings to this one, there hasn't been a fire representative. And sometimes I don't want to step on anybody's toes or, you know, assume what's happening or what should happen when there's nobody here to articulate exactly what's going on and why. So that's kind of where we've been in limbo as a commission with regards to the direction. There has been some public information that's come out. It's been in the newspaper. There's been talk about another fire station, but there hasn't been talk about the type of apparatus that's going to be housed there yet. And that obviously would affect the staffing, you know, what type of apparatus you put there. There's been anecdotal conversations about what might be going on with the increase in service, but we definitely need to get to a point where we have an official, concrete direction that we can go back to the city council with and either thumbs up it or thumbs down it. but it helps to have representation at the meeting. I remember I was on an engine company with the labor representative for my fire department for many years. And if there was a city council meeting or a fire board meeting up there that where items that were discussed were pertinent to the fire service, our engine company would go. And it would be the captain and myself and my paramedic, and we would sit in the meetings. You know, I understand 37's busy, I understand 56 is busy, 36, they've all got calls to run, well, so did we. It may come down to that. You may have to have an engine sitting out here, just to have somebody out here to say, you know, these are the numbers, and if all they do is parrot back the numbers in the fire report. But I think it's very important to have representation for fire at the Public Safety Commission meeting. I thank you for being here, and, you know, hopefully from this point on, you know, we can both make a better effort to move towards a solution for the fire service issue here in Desert Hot Springs. So definitely, if we can agendize it.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
are you going to agendize this talk about the medical unit? Is that what you're going to talk about?
Maybe, Gerald, we need to change the title for the agenda for next month, and we're going to talk, let me ask you guys, what do you think? Increased fire service?
Yes.
Well, I would go ahead and increase fire service. I mean,
Does that sound good?
With an emphasis on the medical
and
squad.
I'm open. You got a better suggestion, I'm open.
well, whatever they put, if we're moving towards, we have the information about the new station, whatever they put there is going to run medical calls, you know? So increased fire service is probably how I would articulate it. He had his hand up before we moved back.
Chief, you got something?
Yes, sir. So a couple different things. So number one, I apologize for nobody being here for the last two meetings. I didn't get the pass down from my leaving battalion chiefs, one promoted to division chief in another region, the other one transferred to another location, and I didn't get the invites sent to my calendar, so I didn't know the meeting was happening. 100% my fault. Guarantee it won't happen again unless something bad's happening. Secondly, I would think that I'll be a lot more prepared to answer your questions. I was caught off guard that the discussion was something totally different than I was expecting. With that being said, I think if you just, you agendize the item as being increased staffing levels or Desert Hot Springs Fire Department staffing levels, I will have something concrete for you next meeting.
So how long have you been here, Chief? Because I'm beginning to think I see part of the problem.
I've been here since April. And the meetings
Did
that,
the prior gentleman pass on to you what we had been working on?
so you're talking about Chief Fish?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And-
we do have some discussions, yes, sir.
Okay, all right, because I'm thinking maybe that's where it got dropped through the cracks, is that we had a change in leadership and.
No, trust me, the
Trust
meetings
me,
have been.
I've seen that happen, so.
The meetings have been ongoing, and we are working very diligently to, we've heard what you've said, and both the city staff and the fire department have some definite ideas on how to make things better. I just don't want to speak before, put the cart in front of the horse, so
no.
to say.
If we were up here asking for a new 50-page report monthly, or, we want, bring the truck by and water my lawn with it, so I don't have to pay. If we were asking for something like that, I could see us all kind of like, yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that. But no, we want to give you some love and give you guys a break, and actually give you more tools because you guys love what you do. They do a great job. But I think we need more of you. I think we all think we need more of you. And we want to give you the resources you need to give better service to the people who live here. And so that should be, trust me, if when I was the chief of police, if someone walked in and offered me that thing, I would have had the staff report done within like a week. It would be sitting on I'd be meeting with my city manager in a couple weeks saying, how can we take advantage of this, and where are we at? How are we going to make the real numbers work, and how should we tailor this? And probably would have had that nailed out and hammered out in about 2.5 months. And then hopefully get council to fund it, of course. So that's what I'm kind of looking at, is trying to, this isn't a complaint session or a beat up session. This is,
No way.
dude, give us the tools we need to give you the tools you need, and we want to do it. We want to do something positive. So can we just go ahead and agendize it, increase fire services, or staff/services, Gerald, for next month, and to give the chief a chance to get it caught up and get a couple answers. And if Chief, if you need to, Ken and Donna are available to sit down with you just to help you figure out what our focus is.
Understood. I'm not taking it like that.
We want to
Sorry,
get some
came ill
stuff
prepared.
done.
This has been going on for years. Me and him, especially, we've been trying to, this thing has been ongoing for months and years. We're just a little bit of frustration because we keep getting new chiefs and new people, and it just seems to just keeps floating right along. Nothing's happening. So hopefully we can get something going.
Okay.
Understood.
Thank you very much for showing up there. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Indeed.
Ken, anything else you want to add before we finish off this?
Well, we're looking forward to the meeting with the chief, and we'll get Councilmember Lozano to attend and everything like that. And, you know, in your defense, and to echo what he said, we're not beating you up. As we've been at this since the beginning of the year, and we found out that there were parallel explorations to solve this problem. And the left hand and the right hand weren't shaking hands, and when we found that out. So we had to work out some bugs on our end too, and hopefully from this point on, you know, we'll coordinate things and we'll finally get some answers and move in the direction we need to move.
Yeah, let's nail this deal down. So, okay, great. Okay, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to the administrative reports. We've got item number 2, Animal Control Monthly Report with Paul, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Animal Control Officer Tally, and it's my first time doing this, so bear with me. Our total calls for service for the month
Don't worry, we're not evil all the time.
Our total calls for service for the month of October totaled 156. Out of that 156, we took 67 loose dog or loose cat calls. We had 10 barking dog complaints. We had 10 welfare checks. We did 5 animal bite calls, and we had 84 other calls, which would include like snakes and possums and an assortment of things. We issued 10 administrative citations for licensing, and we issued 29 warning citations for a total of 39 citations. We took 4 written reports for animal bites. We licensed 21 animals for the month of October. The big number is that we took in 69 dogs for the month of October. We were able to, we had 3 owner surrenders. We fostered out 5 animals. We sent 14 to rescue. We returned 19 of those dogs to their owner. We took 13 animals to the vet. And we took 3 animals to the county. And we had 19 animals that we found deceased on the road. And we issued 2 vouchers for spay and neuter certificates. So those are my stats for October.
Okay, questions?
Yes, well, you did a fine job.
Thank you.
So don't worry about it. You much more poised and articulate than I was the first time I was up here.
Thank you.
I noticed once again, the last time there was an animal care and control report, that there's one statistic missing, and it had to do with the, the Animal Action League bus?
Okay.
Yeah, I guess they do the spaying and neutering. They show up, you know, usually once a month. I don't know whether their absence is seasonal or whether they've discontinued their service, or is there a reason why that statistic isn't present?
We're not affiliated with the SNP bus. They just essentially use our parking lot to conduct their business. Mm-hmm. So I can tell you that at the end of, we had it 2 days in a row. We had it on a Friday and a Saturday. Friday, they performed nothing but spay and neuters. And then Saturday, they provided rabies vaccinations, as well as other vaccinations. And I'm sorry, I have a bit of an echo. So they provide rabies vaccines and other like Bordetella and Parvo vaccines. So, and microchips. So on Saturday, they printed us the report. So I can tell you that they had 83 people show up. But not all 83 of those people are Desert Hot Springs residents. They advertise on, on their website that the vaccination clinic is going to be in our parking lot, and they accept everybody. So we have people coming from everywhere within Riverside County to get their animals vaccinated. It's not entirely all Desert Hot Springs residents.
Okay. All right, so,
I can add that if you'd like. We could add that I'll make a note to add that if that's something that you guys would want to see. But they don't come every month. They set their own schedule, and then they let us know when they're going to be in our parking lot.
well, it's more important that the public that utilizes their services know when they're coming, and if there's the statistics, if they were to be published on the report, it's nice for us to be able to disseminate back to the public that have an interest in that they are actually performing that service and why they're doing it and how they can access it. So I would lean towards including it once again,
Okay.
if and when they show up, if it's not too much of a problem. And I guess that's all I have on that subject, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, go ahead, Lee.
you still got 13 went to the vet. What vet do you use?
We use the Coachella Valley Animal Campus. Or, I'm sorry, forgive me. We use VCA Indio, the emergency hospital at Indio.
In Indio.
Yes, sir.
How else can you go so far? Any reason? Do you have a contract with them? Do we have a contract with the city or something?
We do have a contract with the animal hospital.
Just wonder why you go so far when you've got closer vets. Just
Eh,
kind of, that's
I
a
wouldn't
question.
be able to explain that. That's
Okay,
I can take a shot at that for you.
okay.
Well, and only because I have this bulldog who has a propensity to get in big trouble, and she broke her leg at like 5 months, and you take her to the local vet, and the local vets are wonderful, and they were able to kind of get her immobilized and get her going, but she had to go to VCA for the surgery. So any animal you get with a critical injury has got to go to VCA.
There you go.
So that's pretty much probably why they go to VCA. And it's the same in Menifee. My grand dog went to the one in Menifee for her critical injury, and that's
answer.
why they go there, I think.
Okay.
I'm thinking,
I wondered about that. That sounds
Yeah.
like a good idea, good
So-
reason.
yeah.
I couldn't have said it better myself, sir.
But I will tell you that the orthopedic doctor at VCA, he's the best. You can't even tell my dog she broke her leg. She is just, in fact, before you even came here, she was running. So, hey, I do have a couple questions real quick. Is there a website for that vaccination team? I have people who have been calling me wondering, where is there a low-cost vaccination place?
There is a website. It's the Animal Action League,
Okay.
and they post their monthly calendar is on their website, and they post every day of the month where they're going to be at within the county. We also have a copy of that posted on our little plexiglass window at our service counter, so people can look at that as well.
Okay. And then I noticed that this month we did take 3 animals to the county, and we no longer are getting the month by month line, which we kind of like because we could see trends and stuff there. But I noticed before this new reporting form that we were starting to take animals back to the county, whereas we had gone forever. You guys had been knocking it out of the park with 0. Were these 3 like dog bites or quarantines or something, or are we just running out of room?
We have been over capacity last month, and we have been reaching out to a lot of our normal shelters that we use, our normal rescues that we use to provide relief. Those rescues and shelters like the Humane Society of the Desert and our other rescues that we use, they have been at capacity as well. So the 3 that we took to the county, we didn't have any other choice. We had to create space. But over the course of the last 2 weeks, we have made contact with some rescues out of Nevada and I believe Utah. And so we have been able to lower in the last 2 weeks our total dog population from about 22 down to 13. And most of those have went to rescues. So we try very hard to get them to the rescues. The county is the last resort.
Okay, yeah, I mean, since inception, you guys have been knocking it out of the park, so we got nothing to complain about. It's just kind of our way of following up on that, so, I don't know, maybe in a couple of years, we're gonna have to talk about adding on to the building. So that may be something, Chief Shaw's like, can I get my building built first, right? So Chief Everland's like, can I get my station built first, right? So, all right, well, that's good news. Is part of this also maybe the COVID thing, now that everyone's going back to work, they realize animals are.
100%, yes.
Yeah,
When
okay.
when we were in the throes of the shutdowns and whatever through the COVID, our numbers, everybody's numbers, not just ours, dropped tremendously. But now that we're kind of getting out of the COVID and people are getting back to some type of normalcy, we are finding that we're getting a lot of stray dogs. We have a lot of calls wanting to owners surrender their animals. You know, we usually have 2 or 3 people a day call wanting to surrender their animals.
That's sad. Okay. Yeah, I know you guys are working on it, so. All right, let's move on to nothing else for animal control? I'm sorry. No, we're good? Okay. Moving on to item number 3, code compliance. Christina?
Good evening, Commissioners. So for the month of October, the Code Compliance Division completed 80 service requests, 390 inspections. We issued 129 courtesy notices of violation, 11 citations, and the dollar amount for those citations was $2,900. 2 of the things that I wanted to highlight, one is 3 members of our team completed their first phase of training to become certified residential building inspectors. That'll take a lot of weight off of our current building inspectors' loads. They spend the majority of their days conducting commercial building inspections, and so when we require a building inspector or a building inspector's report for one of our cases, usually it's kind of hard to, coordinate and work in tandem. So this will kind of just give us another tool in the tool belt to be able to take cases before, hearing officers or judges and be able to speak to building violations or structural issues. And the other thing is that the City Council approved an amendment to the abandoned residential property regulations. So this is something we worked on for several months. Our current abandoned property regulations, they're very outdated and they only apply to non-residential buildings. So they'll now apply to all buildings, including commercial buildings, which is typically where we want to see the biggest change. And it's also going to include additional regulations, including more property maintenance standards, preventative maintenance, monitoring, and boarding requirements. So one of the biggest items that we amended was the requirement for a property management company. That will be when we have out-of-town owners. So they'll be required to have a property management company. They will include that information in their registration and will have an immediate emergency contact. The other thing is we've changed boarding standards. So one for emergency situations such as a storm knocking out a window or a fire or a burglary or something in that situation where you can just put up a piece of wood and order a new window. The other is when you're going to have your property boarded for an excessive amount of time, longer than 30 days. At that time, you'd have to meet our minimum boarding requirements. It would include exterior grade plywood. It also include painting the boards to a compatible color of the existing building and structures. So that's going to eliminate all these buildings that you see boarded up with plywood and 2x4s and being broken into. So really just overall increasing the minimum requirements and the standard in the city for abandoned buildings. And then lastly, we increased the fine schedule. So currently it's a $100, $200, $500, and we're moving it to a $200, $500, and $1,000 fine schedule. And those are per day per violation. So they can get very excessive very quickly.
Okay, good report. Questions? No?
Yeah, I have a question. It's nothing to do with this, but the post office, they finally cleaned up their yard, or did you have anything to do with that, our code enforcement, or how was that done?
No, actually, I heard, I want to say at the last city council meeting. That had to do with Daniel Porras and our public works director. So they actually, I believe, went into an agreement with the post office so that we could get some landscape in there finally. Yeah, that's a long time coming.
It was a mess. I was complaining about that thing, but I'm glad somebody did get on ball. That's good. Very good job. At least it looks halfway decent now.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really embarrassing there for a while. And I don't understand the federal government can't
Yeah, the goal
do
was
something with
to
their
match the standard that all the
post
other
office.
cities' post offices have, and yeah, we're getting there.
Of course, the federal always says it's private. It's got nothing to do with us, but, right, whatever. The post office ought to take care of that kind of stuff. I don't understand. But anyway, it does look a little better, so I'm glad that the Public Works took care of it. I'm glad to find out who that was. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, I believe I heard Mayor Modest say that the actual credit goes, what is it? What's the name of the housing development right there by the post office?
Agua Dulce, yeah.
Agua Dulce. I believe the mayor said Agua Dulce ponied up the labor and the materials
I believe
and
it
had
was,
their
yeah, the
landscapers come in and
contractor.
Yeah, I heard there was
and
a lot of
they made some kind
volunteers.
of deal. They worked out which was awesome. I mean, that's
Yeah,
terrific.
it was a mess, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard there was a lot of volunteers.
Yeah, but I mean, big credit to Agua Dulce, the developer there for helping
good.
out with that, so. Okay, I only had one question. So in my neighborhood, like right down the street from my house, they had a big marijuana grow in one of the houses, and so the house got red tagged. So what do we, I mean, my question would, and I don't know if you may not even be able to comment on it, but if the house was owned by people other than the people operating the illegal grow there, I mean, are they going to be under some obligation to do the repairs and put that house back? How does that work with those illegal grows?
Yes, so we hold the property owner responsible regardless of whether or not there was a tenant or an occupant there that was actually responsible for the grow. The standard is to ensure that the building is returned to its natural condition. So that includes, building permits. Oftentimes we see, tampering with electrical panels or, additional electrical, splits, air conditionings, things like that. So their building permit is going to have to include everything being returned to its natural state with final inspections by a building inspector, sometimes electrical permits, things of that nature, and then we'll gradually reduce the red tag to allow for construction and then ultimately occupancy.
Okay, good. Yeah, I know how it was when I was doing those operations with the county, but that was a long time ago. So I'm sure actually a lot of things have changed. We would
Yeah.
just bring a big dumpster up and empty out the whole house. So haul everything away, but I guess they don't do that anymore, so.
Usually we do a partnership with the county cannabis task force.
Yeah.
So they'll take care of that end of it. And then we're really looking from a perspective of health and safety code enforcement is.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right. Anything else? No? All right. Let's move on to item number 4, the Police Department Monthly Report. Chief Shaw?
Good evening, thank you. First, we'll just go through some stats for the month of October. Some of the top stats, auto thefts are 18, so a couple less, but not quite down to where we want to get those things, but going on that downward trend. The aggravated assaults went up quite a bit to 21 for the month. What we have had the last month or so is an increase in some gang violence and gun violence through the city. The majority of that has to do with shootings. Unfortunately, the majority of those folks haven't been hit, but there have been houses and cars and whatnot hit. We've seen this trend going on throughout the Coachella Valley, intelligence-wise, and I think we talked a little bit about last time. Nothing specific that kind of sparked it, but it's still going on. So we've made some arrests. A lot of it is with juveniles. So I can't get into too much details with the juveniles, but we've been actively working with our partners and our specialized units countywide and continue to target that. We've put out special proactive units. During the daytime, a lot of this has been going on right after school because a lot of the players in this are juveniles that are coming from, unfortunately, from the high school. And the stuff is spilling out onto the streets after school. So we've had a lot of specialized units and a lot of specialized details out there during that time, targeting the specific areas. Normally, mainly the numbered streets north of Pearson where we're seeing this. So we're continuing to focus on that. The other area in there you see, initially you look at it, it's kind of alarming, is kidnappings and abductions. You see 5 of those. I can tell you none of those are stranger abductions, so I don't want anybody thinking there's a rash or something going on where there's stranger kidnappings going on. That's typically something, usually a domestic violence type incident, where one person either holds the other from leaving a particular location or pulling them in a car or something like that. So again, a lot of that is domestic violence related and not stranger type abductions that's going on. So I just wanted to be clear about that. Continuing on for the month of October, the officers, again, pretty busy, but pretty consistent with what we've seen. 2,589 calls for service is what the officers responded to. And then the officers had 731 officer-initiated calls. They made 392 traffic stops, conducted 542 building checks, 223 vehicle checks, and 295 pedestrian checks. So staying busy out there, both for the calls and service and their proactive efforts out there, and focusing a lot on traffic enforcement. We've had the conversation a lot, and unfortunately, tonight's an example on Palm Avenue. We had that vehicle versus motorcycle accident. Luckily, there were no serious injuries on that. I don't know if speed was a factor on that. I do know the primary cause in that is a left turn, which is one of the most common ones involving a motorcycle. The vehicle turned left in front of that motorcycle. But again, luckily, there were no serious injuries with that. Moving on to our budget. We're doing pretty good. Police department we're at 37% of the budget. I'd like to get us a couple percentage points a little bit below that. December's going to be the halfway point, so 50% is the goal. I'd like to come in a little bit under 50%, but we had a couple big item expenses that we weren't anticipating so far this year since July 1st. Our vehicle maintenance, we've taken a pretty big hit on the vehicle maintenance, and it's just those new vehicles came in and they've been fantastic, but we just had some big repair bills that came up on a couple other vehicles that we weren't anticipating, unfortunately, and it's just the wear and tear on the vehicles and the fact that they're driven 24/7 and the environment out here and stuff like that. And then we had some air conditioning units within the police department and stuff that had to be fixed and stuff like that. So we're still looking good, and we'll continue to monitor that. Code 31%, so they're looking real good, and animal control was well below at 27%. So all the units are doing their part and staying within the budget. A couple other things going on. I'd like to give you a staffing update each time I come by. I know we talked about it last time. We started the hiring process for the dispatchers. The first round of interviews took place 2 weeks ago. They have another round of interviews this week. And the process basically is after those initial interviews, an assessment is made as who goes forward. They fill out some paperwork that we review, and then it goes to our contracted background investigator. So we're moving forward with those. Again, the goal is to try and have those dispatchers on board by February, March, bring them in for some training. And again, the plan is by May to have the dispatch center up and running. The dispatch center itself, everything is moving forward. They had the contractors come by and bids have been placed. And by January, the first week of January, I believe, is when they're anticipating breaking ground and starting that construction. So things are moving forward with that. Our front lobby, which a 3-day remodel that turned into about a 4 or 5 week remodel, though. Tomorrow is the final walkthrough on that, so we're excited to be able to get that done and open up the front lobby. It really came out nice. New flooring, counters, some bullet-resistant glass that's been put in there, so safer for the folks working inside the building there, because we do leave that office, that front entrance open 24/7. So again, tomorrow's the final walkthrough. So if you get a chance, come by and see it. It really looks. It's a good start to the big construction stuff that's coming, but it really looks nice. A couple of things that we did in October with the department, and with things opening up again, we did a trunk or treat event for Halloween. on the Friday before Halloween. It was really, really successful, more so than we thought. In fact, we had to go out, I think, 3 times during the event and buy more candy because we ran out. Several hundred families came with their kids. Not only the police department, but then the Police Officers Association made some donations as well, some private donations. So in addition to the candy that was donated, we were able to have a popcorn machine and a cotton candy machine. A couple of local groups came out, a car club came out and set up and had some cars set up, and then a couple of local businesses ended up coming out also and set up. And so it was a safe event and well attended by folks. So looking forward to do that again next year. Really a good time. And then it wasn't just a police department thing, and the chief joined us in, but us and the city council, some folks from city council and other city employees, we had a basketball game, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, with the rec center, with the kids from the rec center. They finished up their season. So we competed in a full court basketball game with them, and still recovering a little bit from that, but it was a fun game. They took us right at the end there, 52-51. But a great event, great community events, had a great time with the kids and stuff, and just reminds me that getting a little older, I need to exercise a little bit more and stuff, but a lot of fun. So that completes my report, but I'm available for any questions.
Okay, questions for the chief?
If I may, yes. Congratulations on the trunk or treat. I heard anecdotally that it went over very well and was very popular, and looking forward to it coming back next year. And who knows, a rather frightening-looking public safety commissioner might make an appearance. Just referring to myself. I did have a couple of questions. What's that?
Would have been good if you'd been referring to me.
Sure. With regard to the one statistic with the aggravated assault that you attributed to some juveniles at the local high school, was there are the school resource officers back in service?
They are, and I don't want to say that whole thing is the kids. Adults are misbehaving too and stuff. But we do have our school resource officer back at the high school. He started, I want to say 2 weeks ago. He attended 2 pieces of training that was put in the new contract. One of them was a police officer standard and training class that we had our school resource officer attend prior to anyways, but then the school district also put on a specific training for school resource officers. So he attended those 2 weeks of training and has been back at the school now for the last couple of weeks, helping out at the school, and he's been a great asset there already.
Okay, right. And if I may, one more question that I had. I can't remember if it was the last meeting or the one that preceded that one. We discussed a crime surge team that was particularly interested in the increase in the auto burglaries that were going on at that time. And our motor vehicle theft, not theft from motor vehicles, motor vehicle theft seems to be at pretty much the same level that it was in September. And I was just curious as to whether there was any follow-up on any forward movement on a crime surge team, not just to, of course, address that problem, but any other crimes that might be spiking throughout the city in the current time.
Yeah, so we don't have a permanent one, but what we did do is, and it ended up kind of redirecting from the motor vehicle thefts, from the property crimes, to the personal crimes with the aggravated assaults. And that is the team that we're putting out there, and it's overtime for officers, so we're not taking away from the patrol units. Officers come in and they work those specific saturation details, recently it's been focusing specifically on the shootings that have been occurring and the violence that's been occurring. So it is that team. It's not a full-time team. It's when we do see these spikes. Eventually, yeah, we definitely liked them. We talked about the numbers and stuff, I think, a couple of meetings ago. And
Right.
at some point down the road, yeah, it would be great for us to be able to have that full-time team. But we are able to put them out there right now, utilizing officers on overtime details. And then we still call in those units and those teams countywide that we have detectives on, that we're able to pull in as resource, the PAC team, the gang team. We just sent a detective over to the narcotic task force now. So we're still actively involved with those teams, and we use them as resources also.
I'm glad to hear that you're being proactive now a little more. That's good, obviously. The car theft thing is still bad, auto theft.
Yeah.
We just had one at the Vista Montana again, but you guys found that you got the car back, but it's the same problem. They left the keys in the car. I mean, how are we going to change that?
Yeah,
That
we just-
mindset, I don't know.
Just got to keep
But they
telling
complained
people.
like heck, and once they got the car back, the PD said they left the keys in the car. There it goes. They're going to find that car with the keys stuck in it, and away they go. So it's just one of those things we got to stay on top of. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely, we'll do. And a lot of those, we get a lot of recoveries either from the city itself or from the outside cities. And like we've talked about it at several meetings, a lot of it is just crimes of opportunity and stuff. So folks just need to take their personal safety for themselves and their belongings.
You are getting them back, that's for sure.
Yeah.
They took the license plate. Why the license plate, I'm not sure. They took the front plate. Now, I don't know what that proved, but it sounded like a joyride type thing. I don't know. They climb over the wall and drive out, and
Yeah, and unfortunately, the license plates, they'll take those a lot from these cars, and then they'll put them on another car, and then they go
Yeah.
commit another crime and stuff like
that's
that.
what they do.
But yeah, so folks can help us a lot by
Well,
not
they
leaving the keys in the car, keeping it locked.
But they usually
type of
take the
stuff.
rear plate. I mean, it still has the tag
Yeah,
on it.
yeah, the rear one's usually easier. You
Well,
can hide
front
behind the
plate, I'm
car.
not sure
For
what
sure.
good that does, but in any case, you guys got the car back.
Good. Glad
And
to hear
that's
that.
the main thing, so keep working at it. You just got to keep plugging away.
We will.
And we got to try to educate the public to lock their cars up. Simple as that. Thanks, Chief. You're doing a good job, though. Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay. I think when we talked about that surge team, we were talking, it was about like $550K a year, right?
It was about $500,000, yes.
Yeah, and the reason we put together that was in case one of the council members wanted to further examine that, you'd already have the numbers for that council member.
I do.
So the numbers are there. If council wants it, they just have to say, run, right? So,
Exactly. Yes,
okay,
sir.
so we're set there. Those new dispatchers there's a new post academy they have to go to, right?
There are, right now, what we're hiring is current dispatchers, so laterals.
Okay,
Is what we're looking at right now. And depending on how we do with that recruitment, will depend on if we need to go to someone that isn't a lateral and stuff. But right now, it's laterals that we're looking for.
okay, yeah, because I know RSO they have a post approved dispatch academy up there at Ben Clark's. So.
There is, and yeah, and so if we get to that point, they will have to go through the post academy, though.
Okay. All right, and, oh, no, you got another question then? Okay. And when you do that next event, you need a popcorn machine and a snow cone machine. My wife has all of that, and
Oh.
with the hot dog machine, and she would
Okay.
love to come down and take care of everybody and serve free food. and-
Fantastic.
And make me pay for it, so.
I will make a note of that for sure.
She's really good at it, so, and she loves to drag it out. Well, I'll drag it out, and then she'll do it. So, yeah, and we'll do it free, so it's no big deal, so. All right, Lee, go ahead.
We got some new units in, right? The new black and white?
We did.
Patrol cars?
We've got all of the new units in that we had ordered. We got both black and white and some unmarked vehicles, so they're all in, they're outfitted, and they're out on the road.
And is our ghost program working? You're still doing that?
We still have a ghost car that's out there, and
Is it working?
hopefully
Is
it's making effect. We try to move the car around so folks don't get used to it.
Yeah?
I think even when I come in sometimes and not realizing that it's there, even for me, when I see it,
I
it
know.
makes me look down and make sure that I'm going the right speed, so,
I see them slow down. Pretty soon you're going to have to stick somebody in that thing.
yes, we definitely will. We'll mix it up.
And that'll get them good. Because you
Yes, sir.
guys been working the street pretty good. I've noticed that.
Yeah, they've really been focusing on the Palm and
Drive,
Pearson,
yeah.
those areas, the high traffic areas and stuff.
Yeah, it's bad. It's just, nobody's got to tell you that. It's really bad.
Yeah, we will continue to be out there and do that. One thing we did just get, we didn't have them before, was actually traffic warnings. And Commissioner Meyer may remember the traffic warnings where you actually write the person's name down. Up until now, we can stop someone, and if the officer chooses, just to give a verbal warning and let them know what they did wrong, and then they go on their way. But now we actually will write out a traffic warning. It doesn't go to the courts or anything. They're not penalized or anything, but it's a piece of paper. We give them a copy. We keep a copy. We hang on to it for about 6 months. But it's just, it adds to that reminder of, hey, this is what you were doing wrong, you're going too fast, you made an illegal turn. And so it kind of gets their attention a little bit more without penalizing folks. So it helps with that education portion of it.
Well, they're promoting a new housing project just south of Vista, Montana. And I forget how many units, 80 or 90 units, I don't know what it is. But they're single-family homes. They're nice homes. But this is going to be more people. And the traffic's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So we got to stay on top of it. It's going to be fun.
We will be out there.
Yeah, you'll do a good job. Thank you,
Okay.
Chief.
Maybe that, maybe that's something we're going to want to bring in later, is talking about synchronization on the lights, because too much Palm South every day, it's just whacked. And I don't know if that's, the lights aren't synchroed right there. So maybe that's something we can agendize in a month or two and see if we get someone to talk to us about it. Because Cliff, before Cliff left, he mentioned it, and he brought up a good point with it too. So maybe we should follow up on what Cliff left us. Okay, sounds good. Let's move on to item number 5, last item for the night, Fire Department Monthly Report. Chief?
Thank you, Commissioner. So what you see as part of the report is we're trying to transition to a new report. So what you're looking at is an example of the new report and an example of the old report, and we will be transitioning to the new report next month. And the new report's the one that has the axes on it, as an example. So looking at that report, what you see is all the different call types and how many calls we ran in October. You can see what the average en route and on-scene times are. You can see how many responses that the department ran within the unit's response area. You can see how many times they gave mutual aid. You can see how many times they received mutual aid. And then the second page is a significant incident report. So in October, there were 3 significant incident reports. So I'd like to go over some of those statistics. So on the incident types, you see that we ran 333 medical aids. We had 1 commercial fire, 2 residential fires, and as a result, 2 of those fires were on the significant incident report, 20 traffic accidents, and 4 vehicle fires, as well as 6 wildland fires. And sometimes what happens is the wildland fires get lumped in, a different type of outside fires get lumped into wildland fires. So, some trash fires, encampment fires and stuff sometimes get called wildland fires. In the average en route and response time, 218 of those calls were 5 minutes and under. 93 of those calls were 5 minutes and over 5 minutes, excuse me. And then, as you can see, we ran 359 of our own calls inside the city of Desert Hot Springs, and we received 251 mutual aids from surrounding stations. Significant incident report, there was a residential structure fire that started in the garage, and the first 2 engine companies on scene pretty much got the fire contained to the garage with no extension into the living side of the house. There was a commercial structure fire that was the abandoned hotel, 3-story hotel. Crews did another fine job of containing that to the room of origin. And then there was a motorhome fire that ended up displacing a couple people that were living in that. With that, that's pretty much the end of my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions for the chief?
No questions, but just a comment. When you look at that, back to that medical thing again, 345 medical calls. So that's about what we were talking about. It's just unbalanced. I won't dwell on that anymore, but there it was. It just stands right out there.
Understood.
Ken, questions?
Okay, I had a couple questions. Looking at the new report format, you're looking at the portion that says average en route to on-scene time. I'm trying to understand the nomenclature. We had, our response nomenclature was a little bit different up in Northern California where I was from. The Charlie Delta Bravo Echo determiners for your calls. What exactly do those correspond to? If you could, are those 2 engines? Is that a full assignment for a structure fire? Is a full assignment pending somebody arriving on scene to determine whether there's actually smoke showing, flame showing, or whatever, and then you fill it out with a RIC team or with an out team, or you call for a truck company. And just briefly, what do those stand for?
So our department uses emergency medical dispatch and then emergency fire dispatch. And basically, it's a system that as information becomes available to the dispatcher or the call taker, they can input things and it goes through a formulation, and there's over 10,000 call types based on the information that the call taker receives. So the Charlie Delta Echo calls are our more significant calls. We call emergency calls code 3 calls.
Okay.
And then our Alpha and Omega calls would be a code 2 call.
Okay, all right. So it's analogous to the EMD process, which I was going to ask the police chief about the overlap between the post-training and the EMD dispatch there. Another question that I had, and I guess this might pertain to Ms. Newsom a little bit. I was curious about the fire in the abandoned 3-story hotel and where that was exactly in the city, and whether that was a property that we were looking at as far as the code compliance violation, and with one of the buildings that was in the process, in the process of being dealt with.
I believe that was the Hyundai Hotel.
Was that the Hyundai Hotel?
Yes.
Okay. I know you don't want to put the actual address, you don't want to put names or anything like that, but I was curious as to what that was. There was another question, but I'm going to defer to my colleagues, and if it pops up, I'll go again.
Yeah, I noticed that on the incident report, and I thought that's a significant save, because that's the one thing we were talking about when Christina did that really great report with us, for all the trying to cut down on the number of fires in abandoned buildings so we're not exposing fire staff and other staff to danger and stuff like that. And so that's a hell of a save, though, for them to get in there and get that quick, because once that goes, it's going to be ugly. I do have a question, because over the last year and a half, 2 years, the fire reports changed several times, and I'm never sure, is this going to be like the new standard throughout CDF and Riverside County Fire, the way this is going to be reported with this format?
So basically, as you may or may not know, I represent the city of Desert Hot Springs as their fire chief. I also do the same thing for Rancho Mirage, Indian Wells, and Palm Desert. And so the majority of the the cities are requesting this information be a little bit easier to digest. Right. And so we've developed this report in hopes that is doing what we've been asked to do. The old report was kind of hard to pick through some of the data, so we've made the data a little bit more easy to understand. This report will be available in the very near future for any of the contract cities within Riverside County to be able to use. And we still will use this older report for some other things, but as far as presenting to public safety commissions or the city council, this would be the report that you're going to see in the future, unless there's a specific question that's not on this report that we could pull that information specifically for you.
Okay, yeah, and I'm fine with the format. I'm just wondering, because one of the problems we ran into right at the beginning of the year is the way the numbers were counted and presented were different. We went from 320 calls a month to, at one time we had 575 calls, and we're like, what happened? And then we found out, instead of just counting the calls that 37 was going to, every time 36 rolled into town, I mean, some of the incidents, if we had an incident that had 5 fire apparatus at it, we were credited for 5 calls for service. Okay, and so how we count, I don't care personally, but we want to make sure we know what the standard is. So when we go to council to support increasing service, I don't want to go there and like I told your predecessors, I don't want to be the one to go up there and say, hey, we went from 300 calls to 600 calls, and then we find out we didn't really go from 300 to 600. We changed the number system. And so is this going to, these 436 total, does this include just incidents within our city? Or does this include where 36 showed up with 37 and then BAT 10 showed up? So we got 3 calls for service logged onto our stats. I'm not complaining about it. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page as to how the numbers are run. Because your predecessors, that's the system they had gone to. So are we still with that system, or are we going to a different number counting system just because that way we can track it month to month and figure out where we're at?
So I think that the 436 is the calls that are within Desert Hot Springs. And then it's further broken down under the mutual aid system there, where it says there was 359 responses, basically from 36 or 37. And then Desert Hot Springs gave 67 mutual aids to other jurisdictions. And then mutual aid received 251 mutual aids, 2 of those being from the breathing support. 239 times an engine came, 1 time environmental health came, 1 time there was the hazmat that came, and then 8 times a squad came.
So for those of us who aren't the sharpest tools in the shed, is there a way we can put a number in there that says, in the city of Desert Hot Springs, the fire department got called to a place in the city 250 times? And it doesn't matter whether we had 50 engines or 1 engine. Is there a way we can just break it? Because, I mean, when we really look at service level, and yeah, we need, I mean, I would love to be able to say, look, we had 360 incidents this month, but on 200 of those, we had to get help. Our 1 truck was not enough. You see what I'm saying, Chief? Is there a way we can break that? Because right now it's kind of almost impossible to tell what happened in DHS. I mean, we had 436, but then it says here we had 359 in the city, but then it shows here that 67 times our truck rolled out of the city, which is fine. I mean, that's the way mutual aid works. So I'm kind of confused as to what actually happened in the city. Does that make sense? Is there a way to clarify that in the future?
So if I hear what your request is, sir, is that you're asking how many times an emergency happened in Desert Hot Springs regardless of what jurisdiction responded?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better, Chief. Exactly. There we go. I'm just trying to, for council and ourselves, how many times did CDF get a call for an incident in Desert Hot Springs? And then we can add all the other stuff, because those are all justifiable things. Like, yeah, 259 times we had to have 36 or 56 come in and back us up. I mean, that's where we get that definitive number for us in the council that says, yeah, we need to increase our service level and give you guys more resources. And then for future planning for Dan Porras and the rest of the team, you know, that gives them that workable number where they can sit there and say, you know, we need to, like, I was watching Planning Commission on the diff fees, and I'm not sure that's an hour and a half I can get back in my life, but I actually did learn something, probably not enough to totally understand it, but I'm sure that's some information that would be, you know, I'm just saying it, to me it's confusing to know what's actually happening here in town. I know it says we're busy, and we know that, but is there a way we can clarify it a little bit?
Yeah, I think there is. I think that, you know, it's not necessarily the numbers of calls that generate staffing level needs. Absolutely. It's more along the lines of what percentage we're making the calls on time. And so if you look, you know, the NFPA standard is you're making it to calls from the time that the apparatus goes en route, 4 minutes, 90% of the time. And depending on what land use category those are in, that changes things a little bit, because parts of Desert Hot Springs are a little bit more rural than others. And so it might not be fair to say that every single residence in or commercial building or emergency that happens inside the city limits of Desert Hot Springs needs to be a 4-minute or less trip. But that's the general plan. That's what we're looking at, to be 5 minutes or less 90% of the time. And as you can see in this example, we're at 65.47. So that's one of the metrics that we're mostly concerned about. But I can certainly figure out a way to get you the information that you're requesting.
Yeah, no, and I agree, that's a great metric to use. My thing, though, is to, I have to be careful. Government will often look and say, hey, you guys are doing great, you don't need any more resources because you're at like 90% below 5 minutes, when in reality, no, you need a second engine, okay? Because even though you're getting there in 5 minutes, you're getting there in 5 minutes, and it's like, well, we can put a little water on it, but we need that second engine to really make an impact. And that's where I'm kind of looking at it, is we can show the numbers of calls are going up, and then we can show the response times are going down. Otherwise, we'll all just work you to death, and you guys will find a way to do it. That's the way we've always, when I worked in DHS as a policeman and we only had 2 cars, we'd say we need 3, and they'd go, nope, just go to the calls faster, and we did. We made it work. So I don't want to do that to you guys. I think let's get a real honest, if we can get a real honest thing, and give both numbers to help the number crunchers figure it out. I think that might help us better in the future. So I don't know, anybody else have an issue trying to figure that out, or?
No, it's all Greek to me anyway. No, I pretty well, he explained between you and him, I think I'm getting it.
Okay. Okay.
Well, if I may, it just the mutual aid part of it can be it can throw you off because there's no definition of what mutual aid is, and it's just to echo what Chairman Meyer's saying, it's a great source of information to bolster the argument for the increase in service, particularly the 5-minute response time. Right? I remember when I was an engineer, when I was driving, knowing that metric. I would always refer to it to back me up if I got in trouble, because I was one of the faster driving engineers in my department. And I say, well, we're spread out in the county, and if we don't get there this time, this is what can happen. This is what can happen. So, get it. Put your seatbelt on and hold on, because we're going. And most of the captains appreciated it. Most of the battalion chiefs appreciated it. There were a couple of scary ones, but I took them in the back room and had my way with them, and I was able to straighten them out a little bit. But it would be nice to have a little bit more clarification. Oops, didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a good format, but little more information can't hurt.
Yeah, I just, like you said, I've been to Greece, and fortunately, everything in Greece is also done in English because the British ran Greece for a while. So I was able to survive in Greece for a week, but.
After staring at it for a few minutes, I'm kind of understanding it a little more.
Yeah, I'm just looking for that one basic number that helps a lot.
I think you're right, Chairman.
So, but you educated me on that time metrics, that 65.47 number. Now that makes complete sense, and I think, yeah, you're right. That's an excellent matrix to judge it on. So, all right, you guys got anything else? Okay.
Briefly, what is the protocol for Code 3 response within Riverside County Fire, as far as when you're driving Code 3? Is there a speed limit that the apparatus have when they respond?
We follow the DOT and DMV regulations on Code 3 driving. So generally speaking, you have to be able to drive wherever you are for the conditions that you're in and be able to do that safely. And, there are some discussion points about how you proceed through intersections and those sort of things. But generally speaking, we just go by the general speed law that we got to be able to do it safely.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. Gerald, did you have something for us?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have someone that would like to make a public comment.
Oh, please, step up.
Yes.
Right here at the podium, sir, and there's a button right in the very center of that gray console there. There you go.
I haven't been on a podium for a long time,
Thank you.
since I was going to court paying tickets many years ago.
Can you state your name, please?
My name is Mario Villa. I'm a proud citizen of this beautiful city. We moved here 10 years ago, and it's been an amazing opportunity to raise my family. And I've seen the growth, and it's amazing what's happening in the last few years. It's tremendous. It's really a joy. I travel a lot, so before I was doing door-to-door sales on the area, and I bump into fire trucks a lot. And I've seen, it's unbelievable the amount of fires that we have on this city for some reason. I mean, I've seen so many houses consumed from the ground up fast, and I have noticed that us as citizens, sometimes we are very unconscious because traffic has grown so much, and we are so neglective to the fire trucks because people doesn't move to the side, people doesn't stop. Most people is texting, smoking pot, and it's crazy. It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm sure that our fire department is doing a good job because I've seen them so many times crossing places, and definitely they need, I don't know how many engines they have, but from what I hear, it's like maybe it's just one. And I guess one way of helping could be creating more conscious on the public, having maybe word of mouth on schools or boards. I mean, there's a lot of boards of marijuana now these days. I guess we can invest on a few boards that helps on creating conscious for our community about the importance of respecting the emergencies for local authorities, because it's amazing the amount of traffic that we have increased. The major streets, Palm, Indian, and Mountain, they get crowded. And there is no way to cross the city in 4 minutes for an emergency of anything. It's impossible. I mean, it's difficult for them. And one of the points that I notice a lot is that the signals are very synchronized. I mean, they are amazing compared to other cities. This new Palm Street is amazing. I used to drive from Mission and San Rafael, Palm, all the way to Cathedral, Indio, Coachella, 2 or 3 times a day until 3-4 years ago. And now going up and down is like crazy, the amount of traffic. But most of the things that I notice is people distracted and texting or smoking real bad. So, I mean, that's something we can do to help on that. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. And you know what, as you said, we should be doing something, and normally we don't really comment, but I believe we have new message boards going up on Indian and Palm, right, Chief? So your idea may end up on the chief's desk as a message to pull over for the fire truck and pull over for the ambulance and pull over for the police, so.
We could help, I guess.
Yeah, but those message boards are going to be going up. The city just approved the funding for them, and they're there to report on traffic conditions, like especially at the washes and things going into Palm Springs. But I've got a feeling you're going to have a multi-use function for those boards, right? Right, Chief?
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. So see, he's already writing it down. So.
And like these meetings, I came here like to drop a permit on a roof that I'm trying to fix on a house that I am doing. And I didn't know about this. I hear about it, but I guess most community, we don't know. So we can spread the word in some way, because there's a lot of new crowd coming into the city. And this is an amazing city. We're really blessed here. I guess lots of younger guys and also more mature people would like to assist if they knew about what goes on in here. It's very interesting, I guess. So thank you, guys.
Thanks. Yeah, and for those who listen and don't know, this is a great opportunity you've got the 2 chiefs here. You've got your fire chief, your police chief, you've got the head of code enforcement, and you've got your animal control people here. And these are the people who provide a lot of service. And even though we really can't say a whole lot from up here, I usually see one of those 4 usually meeting with somebody either during or after the meeting. So if you want to get heard right away, but like your idea, I think that just went right on a notepad. So I think it's already going to be thought about. So, okay, cool.
Commissioner,
Anything
if I
else?
might just add one more thing.
Oh, please, Chief.
Just to inform everybody, our PIO department has put together a Pull to the Right campaign, and it's being broadcast across all of our different social media platforms. And with the new website being activated for the city, we're going to be able to share those videos and links and pictures and all the different things that our PIO department puts together. So that'll be coming to the city's website here in a very near future.
Excellent. Okay, good deal. All right. Anything else for the fire chief? No, we're good?
Good, I'm good.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to the next item, commissioner reports. Who wants to start? Anybody?
I don't have much to report. I just, maybe a comment. I noticed that Little Morongo and Pearson, we have those lights around the stop signs and that four-way stop there. And I hope we get more of those. I'd like to see the same thing down at Two Bunch Palms and Little Morongo. That is so dark down there. If we could get lights on those stop signs, that'd really make a big difference. I know that's not a police function. It's by Public Works probably does that, but I tell you, it really made a difference. I couldn't believe that. I pulled out of the Elks Lodge the other day and I saw that stop sign. I went, wow, that's really nice. So I don't know if we can.
I think they, Public Works was working on that, so I'll double check and report back to you next
Yeah, the
meeting.
more we can put those up, the better, because it's really important. I think that's just another upgrade for the city, and it's a plus. It's just, it's good for us. So it's something to look
Yeah.
into if you would.
I was actually just driving in that area the other night with my wife, and she commented on how nice that sign was with
Yeah,
the
it's,
lights going and stuff.
I've
And
had
because it's very
comments on
dark
it.
out there, so.
I've had comments from
help.
people
Yeah.
saying, wow, that's really good. I said, I got nothing to do with it, but I'd move to ask about it.
I will check.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Lee. Ken, anything?
Well, just a couple of things, not so much a report as a couple of reminders. There is a social media platform that is used by many here in Desert Hot Springs by the name of Nextdoor, and it can be the source of some very good information pertaining to public safety. It's free to join, and I encourage people to use it when they can. There was one warning that was spoken about, I think maybe at the last meeting, and maybe the one that preceded. I'm pretty sure it was the last meeting, from the Coachella Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District about a specific species of mosquito that's taken up root in the northern end of our city. It can be a pretty bad actor. The Zika virus, dengue fever, yellow fever can be carried by this insect. It's kind of contingent upon us to make sure our backyards are free of standing water, to be careful of our plants and the water that they can contain. The mosquito can actually lay eggs above the water line, and the eggs can survive until water actually becomes incident upon them. And their lifespan is for several months. So that warning was reissued over the Nextdoor platform. And if anybody has any questions about it, I believe it's www.cvmosquito.org. That's the Coachella Valley Mosquito and Vector Control District. Of course, it's a concern for the Public Safety Commission because if those mosquitoes start biting, we start winding with medical emergencies, and then we're talking about the services that Chief Beverland provides, as well as American Medical Response. One other note was there was also an article in the Desert Sun that came out recently. The timing was a little bit off. We just had the great shakeout regarding earthquake safety, and this came out a couple of days after that. Apparently, there's a Mission Creek strand of the San Andreas Fault that's moving more rapidly than previously thought. It's another reminder that we are an earthquake country. I became acquainted rather violently with the San Andreas Fault on October 17th of 1989. The Loma Prieta earthquake. It wasn't a fun intervention and it wasn't a fun introduction, but it reminded me, of course, and I'm fortunate I was in the fire service when it happened, that we do live in earthquake country, and it's something that we have to keep at the back, not at the back of our minds, but it's something we can't ignore. And these things can happen at any time, and they often happen at the worst possible times. When our guard is down, usually that's when it hits. So again, we need to revisit the issue in the community and on our homes and our businesses. And if you want to go back to the Shakeout website, you can do that, but definitely remain vigilant and cautious. And I guess that's all I've got.
Wow, he did better than I did. That's pretty good, Ken. Okay, I do have one thing. Desert Hot Springs High School, they came to us, about 2 years ago? And they were seeking our support in the creation of a building, getting a grant, and having the school district build them a brand-new public safety academy facility for both police and fire and EMS over at the high school. That facility is done. It's been done for a while, but because of COVID, they haven't been able to have their grand opening or their opening ceremony. Well, it says groundbreaking ceremony in my notes, but I'm pretty sure it's all done. But they are having a ceremony for that facility at 9:30 on Friday morning, the 19th. So I'll be there representing College of the Desert. So if you want to take a look at the building, I got a feeling they're probably going to have it open to the public. And Friday at 9:30, yeah. So if one of you want to attend as a representative from the commission, and if you need to find out if you can make it or if you can attend or not, contact the high school or contact Eric Huber at the high school. He's one of the teachers who runs the program over there. And they do a pretty good job. They do a really good job over there. So 9:30 this Friday, the 19th, okay, at Desert Hot Springs High School. And other than that, I have got nothing else. Anything else for the good of the order? No? Chief, it sounds like your guys are working again. So, okay, then we're adjourned for the evening. Thank you, everybody.